Women are powerful creators. The Align Women podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. I'm your host, Amy Evans. I have authentic, intimate conversations with my guests that highlight their paths to success, their struggles and accomplishments, and the things that currently excite, motivate, and inspire them to turn their visions into reality. Welcome to the Align Women podcast. I'm Amy Evans, your host and the founder of Align Women, which is a leadership and networking organization for professional women. The podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. And with me today is Arti Dutt. She's a technology advisor and the owner of Team Logic IT in Northridge, California. Her company provides managed IT services, IT solutions, consulting, and fully outsourced IT departments. She's also one of the founding members of the Align Women Networking Mastermind, so she's very special to me. Welcome to the podcast, Arti.
Thank you, Amy. I'm glad to be here, and I would love to be on the initial few podcasts.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So I have some questions for you about your position in IT in a male-dominated industry and being a franchise owner and a female entrepreneur. So many things that I love and respect about you. So first, tell me about your background, which is as an engineer, and tell me how that informs the way that you approach solutions for your clients and sales for your clients.
That's an interesting question, Amy. Being an engineer, so I have had a lot of people ask me, you're an engineer, you're not a salesperson, and you are running a business. How does that work? My simple answer is, that's great that I'm not a salesperson. We're working with our clients' technology. You need to have an engineering mindset to be able to design what works for them, what doesn't. If I did not have the engineering background, I may make decisions based on the sales part of it, but the engineering part in me, I think logically. This is where I go. I'm a logical thinker, and that helps me take care of my clients with the technology part of it, and also from the business aspect of it.
Is it safe to say then that you are driven by solutions rather than being driven by sales?
Absolutely. And I think you put it better than I did. Absolutely. There are many other IT companies doing what I do, and that's one of the differentiating factors that I have between myself and the others, because I am not, my goal, my approach is, even though it is sales, it's not sales driven. It's being an engineer, I'm always looking for challenges. How do I solve problems? Problem solving. And I take each of my clients' problems as a challenge and what the best way to get to those.
And tell me about your engineering education. How many years did you study engineering and what kind of degree did you get?
It's interesting. I did my 4 years of graduation. My actual engineering degree is in electronics. Mm-hmm. Electronics, and I knew all about, when I was going through the college, I knew the insides of a TV. My internship was at an IT company where they build computers. Mm-hmm. So it was not the software part of it, except that ever since my first job, I was a software engineer. So I got into programming really beginning right after my college, and that's what I did for 22 years. I was a software programmer, director of IT at a company, but it was mostly on the software side of it. Mm-hmm. That's what brought me to US.
Wonderful. And that was in India where you went through university and started your engineering career, right? Wonderful. Yes. And then we're so lucky that you came here. Tell me about what happens when a client hires your company specifically to be their outsourced IT department. So I know that Team Logic IT works on you can work on a project basis, but you really get the opportunity to go deep with your clients into the solutions when they hire you as their outsourced IT department. And when they do that, I'm sure there are certain things that they expect for you to handle, security, email management. But tell me about some of the things that come up when you really have that deep relationship with a client, some of the IT projects that maybe are unexpected that you've been able to work on for some of your clients.
It's interesting. When I got into the business, I was like, oh, I'll be working with servers and I will be working with computers and networks. That's the IT for almost everyone that we know about. When I'm looking into a business, they have set servers, firewalls, and all of that stuff. What comes out of it is people don't realize that we also support phone systems. So the voice over IP phones, we are supporting our clients' phone systems. We work with them on upgrading the phone systems. One of the interesting things that happened was that because it's IT and because of the security part of it, we get called for home networks for the owners of the company, the C-level executives who a regular router from one of the ISPs may not work because it doesn't have the level of security. So that's what I've done. And that's something that I wasn't. I've been to our owners in Santa Monica, their houses, to set up the network for them in a way that they can work from anywhere with the security that they have at the office. One of the other things that I always get asked for is website development and digital marketing. Some reason all of this is clubbed into IT. As much as I was a programmer, our focus is not website development. That's why I work with networking. I love networking. Align Women is a great resource for me to work with other women business owners who I can partner with when my clients need anything.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I have the same experience in health insurance that people assume I know everything about all kinds of insurance, and I imagine you have the same experience too with IT. Absolutely. One of the other things that came up in our conversation through our networking mastermind was some forensic IT that you have been called in to do when, say, a company partnership splits up and one of the partners who leaves takes information that they're not supposed to, or a salesperson leaves and steals trade secrets, or emails themselves all of the documents that belong to the company, and you get called in to do some forensic IT work and untangle some of those things. And I found that fascinating when you told us about that.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. We have a couple of clients where it happened, where the salesperson left and before leaving just deleted emails, or in one case, they wiped clean the laptop before sending it back. At that point, we get called in. We either have to work with Microsoft to restore, or we have our partners who we send the hard drive and have them restore. So yeah, absolutely. These are some of the things that don't come to mind when you're thinking about IT. But absolutely, this is all part of what we do, how we support our clients.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of my favorite things about you that I love to brag on when I talk about you. You're obviously in a male-dominated industry. IT is very male-dominated, and you are. Is it still one of 4 female franchise owners with Team Logic IT? Has that number
somewhere in that range? Okay. What happens is that there are more female franchise owners, except that they have their spouses also working, supporting in the business. Mm-hmm. In my case, yes, I am the business owner. My husband is he will always be part of the business, because when I go home, I have problems we discuss. But yes, he's not actively involved in the business. Yes.
So that's something that's so fascinating to me, that you went into a business where you knew that that there weren't going to be a lot of other women doing what you do. And there's still just a handful. I think you told me you were the very first female franchise owner.
I was the very first female franchise owner starting the business. Now, I have always been in technology. So to me, it was kind of interesting that there was no other female only. And when I was looking at, I actually asked this question, are there any other female only business owners? There were no female only business owners. There were who had, like I said, partners running. I was working on my business plan, and we had to go through this. We were working on the SWOT analysis.
Mhm.
and which is for other members, SWOT analysis is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So those are the four things we were putting where I had an interesting dilemma. I wasn't sure if being a female business owner goes in my strengths or in my weaknesses or as an opportunity or a threat. I talked to people and they said it goes everywhere because some people see it as a strength. Like I see as a strength. I am a
Right.
female business owner in a male dominated industry, but some people see it as a threat. Some people see it as a weakness. So it was interesting. It's interesting for sure.
One of to play off of that question, one of the other things that is really interesting to me about you is that you chose, when you decided to start a business, to become a franchise owner, and you did your research on the benefits of either starting a business independently or starting a business through a franchise. And there are not a lot of women within my circle who are, or maybe any, who own franchises like you do. And tell me about what that decision process was like for you, and what the advantages have been for you of joining a business that is part of a franchise.
Absolutely. We'll have to go 15 years back.
Okay.
I come from a business family. My parents, my dad is a business owner. My brother, my sister, they all have businesses. The only difference is that my entire family is back in India. In US, it's my husband, myself, and my twin boys. So I always had a mindset that I will eventually get into business. What that business was always, it was the ever changing. And I tell the story when my kids were two, I said, okay, I'm going to start a daycare because they were two and they needed to go to a daycare. When they were five, I said, oh, I'll start an after school club for the kids. When they were seven and they were playing chess, at that time I said, oh, I'll start a chess club. And so it just evolved depending on, at 10, I think they were doing robotics. So I said, oh, I'm a programmer. I'll just start a computer coding club and programming. What happened is that when they turned 13, I realized that their interests were very different than mine now, and in an essence they didn't need me anymore. They were doing their own thing, and around that time I said, okay, now I need to start a business. Let's see what we can do. I knew that I needed to go the franchise route because during the last all of this time, I knew that to run a business, you need to have a support and you need to have a network of people. And I knew that I didn't have that here. Being in US, it was uh, I have to do what I could do, and that's the reason why I said I'm going to look into the franchise model and see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I actually looked at different all kinds of franchises. I worked with a franchise consultant. We ended up going into the technology field because that's where I am from. And it has been great. It has been great. It is when people hear franchise, somehow franchise has a negative connotation to it. What I want to tell them that at least this franchise, it's kind of a soft franchise. I get all the support that I need and I have the flexibility to do what I want. I can set up my own services. I can set up my own. I hire my own employees. I do my own marketing. So, but anytime I need support, I know that there is a group of people. And when I say group, there is 200 Team Logic ITs. At this point right now, there's 200 Team Logic ITs. So I have 200 of those owners I can call at any time. There's 700 technicians in our network. Any IT issue that comes in, we can reach out to. From my perspective, the franchisor has a team of people who help us with the operations, the sales. So it has actually been really good for us. As far as what I have achieved in the time that I've been a business owner, it's great. I think it was a good decision. It was one of the good decisions I made. One of.
And it sounds like it's given you both the business infrastructure so that you didn't have to figure that all out on your own while still
Yes.
having the flexibility to work with the vendors that you want, and some moral support from other franchise owners around the country that you can lean on when you're having challenges. And then from a client support perspective, when they're working with your office, they're working with you, but they're also working with the knowledge of the other 200 offices around the country, so that if you have a client that has an office here and an office on the East Coast, you're able to support them because you have that entire network at your disposal.
Absolutely. And I tell this too. I have clients with multiple locations, and at any given point of time, if they need help with any other location, they don't have to worry about who to call at their office over there. They tell me, I find the closest Team Logic IT, and they're there on site to help them. Client doesn't have to. We work on the same tools, go through the same training process, so it's seamless from the client's perspective. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest advantages. Being in this business for this long, I have come to realize this is one of the biggest advantages I have.
That totally makes sense. So I want to close by asking you about the cybersecurity webinars that you do. And I know it's not limited to webinars. I know you speak at local events about cybersecurity, both from a business perspective and a personal perspective. Tell me about what those webinars look like when you go into a business in order to help their employees understand how to stay safe online. And give me one of your favorite cybersecurity tips.
Absolutely. So this is a common misconception that technology is what needs to be upgraded and secured for cybersecurity. The hackers are smart enough that they realize that almost everyone has a good firewall. They have the antivirus. So what they are doing right now is they're targeting the weakest link in the chain, which is employees and humans. Having people click on the links that seem like they are from a CEO of the company. Mm-hmm. And that's where they are. So when I go in and I talk about cybersecurity, it's our job to make sure that the network is secure, that the computers are secure. What we have to train our business owners and other businesses is how to get their employees to look for that phishing email when they get a call, to see who it's calling. How do you validate if it's your bank who's calling, or if it's somebody? Or many times the biggest one is Microsoft is calling, saying that, oh, you have a problem on your computer.
Right.
At that time, I tell them, Microsoft is never going to call you.
Microsoft doesn't have the time to call you,
No.
I promise.
No, IRS never calls you. So when I talk about cybersecurity, it's more than just the technology part of it. It's a lot of it is human tendency. What are you doing to protect yourself? The biggest thing that comes up these days, what has changed is that people are no longer leaving the work when they leave the office. Mm-hmm. They leave the office, the phone goes with them, their emails go with them. They're at home, they're working. They're at Starbucks, they're working. So what I tell them is just raise the awareness to make sure that they're safe when they're at Starbucks or at the airport. Don't connect to the airport Wi-Fi and log into your bank.
Right.
Those are the things that people want to know. And so those are a few of the things that I tell. You asked me for my favorite tip, and my favorite tip is always going to be passwords. How many times we run into, and it happens almost every time we run into, password is saved on a Word document on the computer, and the file name is called password.
Right.
And there are simple tools, and one of the tools that I say, use password manager. Use a password manager. Do not reuse the password. Right. It's crazy how people are still reusing passwords and getting hacked because they're reusing the passwords and not realizing what's going on with their ID.
Right.
So
that's a great tip. A password manager is a great tip.
I can go on and on about cybersecurity, Amy. You can tell.
I know you can, and I know that's why you speak on it, which is wonderful. So tell me, if people want to reach you, where can they find you?
I am on LinkedIn, and look me up, Arti Dutt, Team Logic IT. I am on Facebook, and I am on Instagram. I am not, being in the IT and because of cybersecurity, I'm not a very social person. I it's just me. But my website is teamlogicit.com. You can find me there, and I think that's it.
And we will have the links to all of those things in the show notes so that people can easily see them and click on them once your podcast episode is up. Thank you so much for joining me on the Alignment Podcast today, Arti. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
It was a good one, Amy. I was thank you for having me.
You were lovely. And
Thank
look
you.
for more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Align Women Podcast. You can find more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com and visit alignwomen.org to learn more about our leadership and networking organization. This is Amy Evans, and you've been listening to the Align Women Podcast.